Well, welcome back to Access All Areas, and joining us now, as always, is the Doc, Peter Larkins, and it's just getting worse out at Windy Hill, Doc.
Look, there isn't a week, as I said before, Richo, but add Ben Howlett and Jason Winderlich to the hamstring tally this week. Howlett will miss probably 3 or 4, and Winderlich, who's struggled all year. You see him in the chase here, Richo, grabbing for the left hamstring. The same one he had the graft taken from, Richo, and it's that lunge movement now where he just overstretches. You see the classic grab, all the fans recognise that. Doc Reed leads him into the change room there, but look on his face. He's worked so hard because he's had scar tissue. Now, the good news is it's in a new part of the hamstring higher up in the muscle belly, so they're hoping it's going to be a 3 or 4 week hamstring, but that makes 27 soft tissue injuries and a season they want to forget, Richo.
Not career threatening for Winderlich. He's had a lot of trouble.
Well, I think mentally it'll certainly be on his mind, but the good news coming out of it is that it's a higher up than where the scar tissue was that kept him out for the first half of this year. So I guess if they get that right and they get everything else right, he may go on.
What about Swans veteran Jude Bolton? Was aiming to play his 300th game in the last round, but there's a bit of trouble here, I'd say.
Well, Richo, you know about knees as much as anybody. This left knee, you watch the hyperextension, you see him living there, watch he kick, and then as he comes back, we'll see another vision of it. It's interesting because look at Aaron Joseph's foot sort of kicking behind his ankle, and he sort of gets anchored against it. The hyperextension. Now, what the scans have shown today is good news in one sense, that he hasn't got a full tear of the ACL, but he's got a partial ACL, a partial PCL, and stretched all the ligaments at the back of the knee. So everything's quite loose and swollen.
But he's thinking he'll come back this year?
Well, he tweeted 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, Jude's the optimist, and I think that is sort of really the minimal amount of time. What they're going to do is get him right. They'll train him in a couple of weeks' time, see if he gets sore, and try and get him up to play. So realistically, he may play. But look, I think it would normally be more than 2 or 3 weeks in a normal part of the season.
What about the porpoise, Jason Porplesia over in Adelaide? Had shoulder trouble in the past. Is this the same shoulder?
We watched the tackle and the left arm goes out here. The right shoulder's got the strapping on from his Rico last year that he struggled with, but he has to break the fall and goes through and puts the left shoulder down, just subluxes. So obviously often players are often prone with both sides. So Adelaide assessing him today, and given that it's not a major dislocation, there's a reasonable chance the porpoise will be up for the Crows.
And what about Tyson Goldsack on Friday night? Got fallen across his leg. Is that okay?
Yeah, look, he's had they talk about the high ankle sprain, Richo, which is, we'll just see the contest a couple of times. He reaches down for the left side, and basically, again, I thought he was going to do his knee with the medial because, as you'll see Geary fall across him, and it pushes the left ankle inward, so the inside medial ligament goes, but see the foot get twisted under.
Has he had a scan on that?
He's had a scan, the high ankle sprain, so they're going to look at timing on that. I mean, good ones are 3 or 4 weeks, and bad ones are 6 or 8 weeks. So it depends a little bit on the soreness over the next couple of weeks for the Goldsack.
Now, Josh Hunt unleashed one of the best barrels you'll ever see on Friday night. It went about 80 metres, but I believe there's a bit of trouble.
He's got a big left leg on him. You watch, it goes over the pack, and look where it actually bounced.
80 metres, Doc.
Yeah, well, he's got a strained quad out of that. Look at him in the red vest, Richo. So Josh, unfortunately, won't be kicking barrels for a couple of weeks. Quads, look at Zaharakis, how much his time is missed. So that's a bad injury in one sense because we love his kicking. He kicks out a lot, but a quad at best is 3 or 4 weeks, a bit like a hammy. So Josh is going to be on the brink of not getting back before the home and away finishes.
Well, the biggest name in the game, Buddy Franklin, been out with that hamstring. Can he come back this week against Port Adelaide?
Look, I think it's about right now. We were all speculating how much time he needs. 3 or 4 was going to be the right time after he aggravated it. So this will be 4 weeks. So I think Hawthorn clearly weren't going to take a risk after the original experience, Richo. So I think we'll see him play against Port coming up on Sunday.
And they always win when a coach has been replaced.
Well, new coach this week. I mean, obviously Hawks will be on their toes. They're aware of it, but it'll be a big challenge against the Hawks. They're playing Hawks over here.
Now, the Eagles have been struggling, and big man Dean Cox, what's the status with him?
Well, he's been struggling with an ankle injury last week. They did play him this week again, and his ankle came up sore again. So it's one of those week-to-weeks where players will carry an ankle and usually pay for it a bit later on. So unless he can train well, they won't play him. But I think he'll probably be all right this week.
Now, the Suns, it was a walking wounded yesterday. Smith and Prestia went down before half-time. They were forced to play Riscatelli on the ground lame. Could he have done further damage?
He could. They had 2 ankle, Prestia and Smith off with ankle injury. You see the right strapping on the knee, protecting the medial movement. So, look, it was running out of soldiers. They played him up forward. But, look, they're worried about if it's joint surface damage, you can certainly aggravate it a bit more. In one sense, Richo, he's just going to be more sore. But I think structurally, because it wasn't a major ligament rupture, you're not going to make it worse. And so the scan will tell them today when they find out. But look, it's just hard because clearly they'll run out of soldiers. And I think it's just more soreness rather than more structural damage for him.
Another team with a lot of injuries this year is Carlton, and Michael Jamieson, their full back, looks to have done his hamstring yesterday.
Yeah, there's no question. We see him in the number 40. He goes down and slides through, and he sort of tries to lift and arches the back as you do it, and you just see the gesture straight away. Again, we recognise a bit like the Winderlick one. He gestures to the bench. He's had hamstring trouble in the past, not recently, but it always sets you up. And so the conservative approach, you often think that, look, that mechanism, you expect Jamo 3 or 4 weeks off the back of all the shoulder troubles. Carlton have just got him back playing well, haven't they?
Well, comprehensive as always, Doc. Enjoy the snow. I think you're heading up there now.
Just taking the little boy Thomas up to the snow. We'll be back for the footy on Friday.
Well, thanks, Doc. Damien Barrett will be back with Lee Matthews for Friday's edition of Access All Areas. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you later on.